Hello, and welcome to a discussion of the issues of Campaign 2008. I'm Chris Kiergaard. With me today are, on the Democratic side, Jeff Hall, and on the Republican side, Lee Newcom. On the issue of taxes, Senator Obama favors raising the income taxes on the wealthiest Americans and their capital gains and dividends taxes. He would also raise corporate taxes and take $80 billion in tax breaks offered to mainly poor workers and the elderly, including a tripling of the earned income tax credit for minimum wage workers and higher credit for larger families. He would eliminate the tax filing requirement for older workers making less than $50,000 per year. A mortgage interest credit could be used by lower income homeowners who do not take the mortgage interest deduction because they do not itemize their taxes. Senator McCain has pledged not to raise taxes. He then equivocated, saying that nothing can be ruled out in negotiating compromises to keep Social Security solvent. He twice opposed President Bush's tax cuts, at first because he said they were tilted toward the wealthiest, and, again, because of the unknown costs of the Iraq War. He says that those tax cuts now, expiring in 2010, should be made permanent. He proposes cutting corporate taxes to a rate of 25% and promises to balance the federal budget in his first term, saying it is unlikely to be done within his first year. Mr. Hall, Democratic view.
I'll start it out basically. One of my financial advisor friends was talking, and he was saying that he said, "Oh, McCain's the way to go, because Obama's just going to raise your taxes to 40%." I'm assuming he's referring to income tax. But as far as it goes, I looked into it, and that's not true. Basically, the point of Obama's plan, there's many different points, but there'll be no tax increase for families who make under $250,000. Okay, there'll be no tax increase. For individuals such as myself that make less than $200,000, we won't see a tax increase either. All right. Now, Obama's plan would basically there'd be a refundable tax cut of $500 for workers or $1,000 for working couples. Obama will provide a package of tax cuts to help families afford health care, college, and save for retirement. And then also, under his plan, it'd be 19% under the tax rate, would be 19% under while Ronald Reagan was president. And so we've got all those things here, these myths that I heard before, and then I actually looked into it, and they aren't true at all. Obama basically supports these tax cuts for people that are around the Peoria area, which the average median income in Peoria is around $36,000, give or take. And so that puts them well below this risk of their taxes being raised. Now, Obama's for taxing the wealthier. Now my whole point, I made a joke, and as far as it goes, these wealthy people, they gripe about these huge tax cuts, or these tax cuts that they want to be having, or they want to be getting, which they are getting under Bush's plan now. But they don't even notice the difference. But you take a family that's struggling, and then they get taxed, 25%, 26%. It gets kind of high. And Obama would support these tax cuts. McCain's tax cuts would leave out about 101 million households, and even the National Review, which is a pretty right-wing magazine, concluded that McCain's plan offers very little in the way of direct benefits as far as to the middle class. And the middle class is what's going to win this election. That's why McCain kind of comes to the middle on some issues and to the right on others. He's wanting to get the middle class in on that. Now, as far as Senator McCain on raising taxes, he has flip-flopped on this. Now, he spent a great deal of time during the campaign in criticism of Senator Obama, basically saying that Obama's plan would subsidize tax cuts for the middle class by rolling back the Bush tax cuts on the wealthiest Americans. Well, he flopped on that because during the presidential debate just the other day on September 28th, Senator McCain admitted that his health care plan might benefit many low-income Americans at the expense of those with the most extravagant health care plans. And you can assume, rightfully so, that those with the more extravagant health care plans tend to be wealthier. And so basically his quote is, actually my position is that it will give people actually more money to go out and purchase health insurance on their own, and only those with the Cadillac gold-plated health insurance policies today are the ones who might suffer from it. And so that's out of his own mouth here. So he's starting to agree with Obama as well, to tax the wealthier.
Mr. Newcom, Republican viewpoint?
In 1929, when the stock market crashed, President Roosevelt went on television to tell us to calm down. Well, I'm sorry, I was quoting the Democratic nominee for vice president there. In 1929, when the stock market crashed, Republican Herbert Hoover was the president, and he engaged in the exact strategy that soon-to-be President Obama would like to engage in, that he tells us about in his campaign, and that is he wants to raise taxes on the highest income earners, and he wants to increase spending. That is the exact economic prescription for what caused the Great Depression to go into a 10-year Great Depression by President Hoover. And it is the wrong strategy for the economic times that we're facing right now. What many people don't realize is that when we talk about those upper income earners, which I'm sure, Jeff, you want to become one day, we're talking about people who have worked hard to earn a living. We're also talking about most small businesses in America. Most people don't have a lot of experience with taxes and paying high taxes, and they don't realize that many small businesses in America, a very high percentage, go as subchapter S corporations, which you may be familiar with. A subchapter S corporation means that the business owner pays their taxes on a personal income tax return. Now, under Mr. Obama's plan, marginal tax rates on upper income earners would be increased to 46%. When you add state and local taxes on top of that, you're talking about income tax rates that were the kind of rates that you mentioned that Ronald Reagan had, but you only mentioned, as the Obama campaign does, the tax rates at the time Ronald Reagan became president, not after he pushed through the 26% rate that he ultimately got, which resulted in an economic boom. If we have the tax policies that Senator Obama would like to put in, what's your economic time is going to be pushed into a depression, because that is such a huge tax increase on people who are investors that the money comes out of the investments and goes just into the bank. The second thing it does is increase the marginal tax rates on small business to such a point that you take that money out of employing new people and developing the business, because business owners at that tax rate pull back. What does that do? And this is what I find most curious about Democrats who say they care about working people. I care about working people. I'm one of them. I began my career working on a factory floor, and I know working people, and I'm still not a wealthy person. I'm a small-time county official now, but my neighborhood is working people, and I can tell you, those are the people. You remember the tax that came under the Clinton administration? We're going to tax those evil luxury cars and luxury boats. What happened? All the people in the luxury boat business that were the workers, the blue-collar workers, lost their jobs. And if Senator Obama is successful in being elected and pushing through this tax plan, it's not going to hurt me, and it's not going to hurt the wealthy. It's going to hurt working people, blue-collar people who depend on their paychecks, because they are the ones that will be out of a job when business owners and investors pull back because of the tax rates. The Obama tax plan not only doesn't save people, the Obama tax plan is a formula for the loss of millions of jobs.
The Obama tax plan basically helps small businesses as well, because he's going to roll back these healthcare tax credits for small businesses and lower healthcare insurance costs by $2,500 per family. You know, he's out to help small businesses.
Well, let's look at healthcare. The Wall Street Journal published a study just this last week that they undertook.
Healthcare?
You brought it up.
Yeah, I used it as an example of a small.
Okay, well, you brought up healthcare
as a small business
as
tax,
helping ordinary families.
Are you going to get into healthcare?
Well, let's get into the economy.
Okay.
The Wall Street Journal published a study where they studied the plans of both Obama and McCain last week. And what their study concluded, done by an independent company that analyzes healthcare plans, they found that the impact to the ordinary working families is that the McCain plan will lower families' healthcare costs by $1,411 a year on average. The Obama plan will lower the burden on families by only $426 per year. So I'm not getting on health care, but you brought up that as an example of how the candidates care about working people, and I think it's a wonderful example, because the McCain tax credit, the Obama campaign tells us constantly that McCain's going to tax that, but what they don't tell you is the other side, that along with making the health care benefits taxable, you then substitute a new $5,000 per family per year tax credit, which ultimately, according to the Wall Street Journal, gives you a savings of more than $1,400 per year.